What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Drew Hoover, and it has finally arrived. We are going to be going over my documentary of my trip to the NFL playoffs. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please click that subscribe button. Also, if you have any graphic design needs, Anthony Garcia is your man. His link is in the description below, www.anthonygarciadesign.com. Now, there's a lot of factors that came into me deciding to go to a playoff game. First of all, it would not be my first NFL game. I've actually been to several NFL games and several NFL stadiums. I'm going to go ahead and list off the ones I've been in. The first stadium was Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Then I've been to Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. I've been to AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. I have been to MTN Bank Stadium in Baltimore. As a matter of fact, I have been to Paul Brown before. Back in 2011, this was Eddie Dalton's and AJ Green's rookie year, and me and my friends went to see them host the Pittsburgh Steelers that year. And man, I just remember that AJ Green touchdown catch that he made over Troy Polamalu and Ryan Clark. I believe he got injured on the play, but still, that memory just stands out in my head right there. So I've been to Paul Brown before, but man, I really wanted to, show you guys something different than my usual sports commentary, and really give you guys something unique. And like I said, when the playoffs were rolling nearby, it really was, when the Bengals won the AFC North, and I was like, you know what? They could host a playoff game. It's about, less than 5 hours away, I could make the trip. And so I really watched closely to that Chargers-Raiders game to see who the Bengals would be hosting. And then obviously the Raiders won, which means they were going to go to Cincinnati, and I snapped those tickets right up. I got my parking tickets as well, because there's stadiums like, Paul Brown, and I will even say Heinz Field, where there's not a lot of convenient parking, So yeah, I decided to do that. I could have gone to Buffalo, because, I would have loved to see that rivalry with the Patriots. But unfortunately, I don't want to see a football game in a communist country. Anyway, and I knew that maybe, Tennessee would have hosted a game the week after in the divisional round, but that would have been 7 hours away. That's the thing about me living in West Virginia now. It's 2 hours to Pittsburgh, about 4 hours to Cleveland and Baltimore, and then it's about 5 hours to Cincinnati and Buffalo. So really, I'm close to a lot of football action than I was in Iowa. So I'm gonna stop talking for now. I'm gonna give you a video that I put together about my experience, and then we'll get back to my commentary and my recap of my experience. So go ahead and play that video, guys. Yeah, so man, it was an awesome, incredible experience. You talk about the moment I parked my car in that parking garage. I'm already manned by Bengals fans, and man, it really is an enriching experience to meet other, football fans, and because, people love this game so much that they're willing to, if they find someone else who loves the game as much, they welcome them in. And, so man, those guys, man, that you see hooting and hollering in that parking garage, man, they were the best. And an interesting story about the guy, about the one that's wearing the Jamar Chase jersey. He actually showed up to the game wearing Detroit Lions gear. He wore a Detroit Lions toboggan. I believe he wore a Amon St. Brown jersey. But thankfully, his friend had multiples in his car, so he was able to switch out for that Jamar Chase jersey. In fact, his friend ended up selling one of his jerseys to one of those guys in the parking garage for $80. So, yeah. So we were able to chill out and stuff. And so, man, there were so many people like the guys in that parking garage that, because with me, asking around, I had to, ask for their consent to be videotaped and, to take pictures and stuff. And so I just want to thank everybody that allowed me to, document and videotape, their experience and stuff. And so, like I said, really show the people on YouTube what it's like, especially when it's playoff time. And so thank you all. And thank you all for when you figured out that I had a YouTube channel, for subscribing to me as well. And so, like I said, so I'm now getting to the tailgating part. And so there actually is parking underneath, Paul Brown Stadium. I don't know if you could see from those videos, but there's bridges that go over to the stadium. And under those bridges are a bunch of parking that they use for tailgating. And man, it is a huge, gigantic party down there. Talking about a bunch of people, cooking out of the back of their car, buses, and, they're playing games, they're throwing the ball around, they're playing cornhole and beer pong, man. It is a huge, gigantic party. And like I said, they were waiting for this moment for such a long time. You talk about, like I said, the fact that they hadn't won a playoff game since 1991, man, they were ready to party all out. And yeah, so that goes all the way around the stadium. Man, there were so many people that came to to come out and party and stuff. Some of them may have gotten a little bit hammered before the game, but anyway, so there was also a place called the Jungle Zone, which is pretty cool. They had stuff for adults and for kids. They had a bouncy house. They had a cornhole. They had some NFL Play 60 for the kids. They had a live performance band. And then finally the game happened, man. And, just waiting in line. Again, just meeting with other fans and stuff. Either you were hearing people say, "Who dey?" or people yelling, "Raiders!" And really, like I said, when you're talking with other football fans, you get to talk about, like I said, NFL history and stuff, and talk about your experience. So I'm in line talking to a Raiders fan that came in all the way from California to see him. There were several Californians that came in to see the Raiders, because the reason that surprised me is, like I said, they're in Las Vegas now. So there's some people that were there for the Raiders when they were in Los Angeles or in Oakland that are still loyal to the Raiders, that go all the way out there. So I think that's an incredible thing. And like I said, the Raiders fan behind me is getting chilly, and we just, like I said, started talking about NFL history. We talk about the 1981 season when the Cincinnati Bengals ended up going to the AFC Championship game, and hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. I believe they were Los Angeles, or maybe they were San Diego. They faced the Chargers, and that year, you talk about Don Coryell and his Eric Coryell offense. You're talking about Dan Fouts and his receivers like Kellen Winslow. And man, that game was so cold. The Chargers couldn't do anything. And the Bengals ended up punching their ticket to the Super Bowl to face the 49ers that year. So, man, it was fun to get to talk to people that I don't know. And like I said, the fact that we love football, it brings us together. As a matter of fact, when I came to find my seat, there were multiple families and people that had bought tickets together and bought them to sit next to each other. You're talking about singles, couples, couples with kids. They all bought these tickets together in the same section so they can enjoy this game together. Honestly, I never witnessed anything like that before, sitting next to, these kind of people. And so here's a little bit of a game recap for me. One, both offenses were very conservative. When you talk about the 6th and 7th ranked offenses, you're talking about the last time Joe Burrow played, he played against the Kansas City Chiefs and had a huge game. And you talk about the last time the Raiders played was the week before. They had the shootout against the Los Angeles Chargers. It was really strange for them to resort to, one, the running game, and two, routes like, hitches and comebacks and stuff. That was mostly the routes. Now, the Raiders did eventually start doing some crossing patterns and stuff, but a lot of those crossing patterns were to get guys underneath. Now, they were not saying there weren't an occasional big play, but considering how aggressive both these offenses have shown, they were very timid. And maybe that's because it's a wild card, and if they go to the next round, that maybe they don't want to show their cards yet, which I can understand that. Another thing I will note is the referees, particularly in the second half. Myself included, and the people around me were wondering what they were smoking at halftime. We got so much hate from Cincinnati Bengals fans that Adam Schefter reported that the same officials that refereed that game will not officiate for the rest of that season. And yeah, overall it was a fun game. They had a lot of people that showed up to the game to support the Bengals. You know about Ickey Woods, famous for the Ickey Shuffle, was a former running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. Apparently there was a rapper named Cow Scrubby. I didn't know who that was. I didn't know there was a rapper named that. Honestly, it sounds like a spokesperson for a bathroom cleaner. So, but anyway, the game was fun. It had its ups and downs. It got me stressed. But, finally it came down to that final play, and then Jermaine Pratt picked it off. And, man, that place went ecstatic, People are jumping up and down. Obviously, everyone had a recording. And I even witnessed some people crying. Because, like I said, you're talking about waiting since 1991 to see it and then finally have that dream realized. That's why I love football. Because when people get involved in these teams and stuff, and even blindly support, talk about what the Bengals went through those last 30 years, man, the 90s were a terrible time to be a Bengals fan. And then to go through the Marvin Lewis era where, even when they had, quarterbacks like Carson Palmer and Andy Dalton, and you had wide receivers like Chad Ochocinco and AJ Green that just couldn't get over that hump, and so, man, they were yelling "Who Dey" the whole way down. And I got my cheaper tickets were all the way up in the nosebleed section. So, so we had to face the enemy called stairs. And, so honestly, the only bad thing about the game was, like I said, afterwards, because it took me a half hour to get to where I was parked, only 0.2 miles away. And then it took me an hour to get out of the parking garage. So you're talking about the game ended just before 8 o'clock. And by the time it was all said and done and I got out of the parking garage and started heading home, it was 9:30. I got gas, started driving home, got too tired, ended up, taking an hour nap at a rest stop. Didn't get home until like 3 a.m. But man, it was so worth it, guys. Because like I said, not only am I a football fan, even though I'm a Packers fan, I had no business being there if you're a Packers fan. But like I said, I'm a football fan deep down in heart, and it was so worth it to see, like I said, to witness history, and also worth it so, like I said, I can document this and bring it to you guys. I wanted to bring you guys something new, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So this has been Drew Hoover, and have a good day, everybody.